In this video, we're going to look at how we can control which apps have access to our data. This includes our contacts, our calendars, our reminders. We're going to look at this on the Mac, iPad, and iPhone. Let's first look at how we can set which apps have access to my data on my Mac. Now, in order to view which apps have access to your data, such as your contacts, your calendar, your camera, or even your photos, what you do is you go up to your system preferences. So I go up to the Apple menu here, and then we go over to System Preferences. Under System Preferences, we go over to Security and Privacy. And then there's one last step. We need to make sure that we're looking at our Privacy tab under Security and Privacy. When we're looking at this, you're going to see on the left all of the different types of data. So I have contacts, calendars, reminders, photos, camera. Within each one of these, I can see which apps have access to that data. As an example, when I go over to Contacts here, when I select it, I can see that Tapforms 5 has access to my contacts. When we go over to the camera, which apps have access to my MacBook Air's camera? Well, I just select it, and then I can see all the apps that have access to my camera. If you want to revoke access, all you have to do is just deselect it. So if I no longer want to have Google Chrome have access to my camera, all I have to do is just deselect it here. And then Google Chrome will not be able to access my camera. You're going to notice when I go over to Photos here, it does not have anything listed. That's because there's not an app that has access to my Photos app outside of the Photos app. So with any one of these here, the default app or the default Apple app does have access to that data, of course. So with Contacts, the Contacts app does have access to it, but in addition to that, Tapforms 5 does. With the Photos app here, the Photos app obviously has access to my data, but there is no other app that has access to that data. So the only app that is going to be able to view my photos on my Mac is going to be the Photos app. So that's how you can control which apps have access to your data on the Mac. Now, what about the iPad and iPhone? Well, let's go over to my iPad and iPhone and see where we can find these settings. We're going to look at this on the iPad first. What we need to do is go over to our Settings app. When we're in the Settings app, what we do is we go over to Privacy. Under Privacy, you're going to see all of the different categories here, just like we see on the Mac. So I have my contacts, calendars, and reminders, and photos. I keep going down below. I also have my camera. So I have all of the same types of data. I want to see all of the apps that have access to my contacts. All I have to do is just tap on Contacts here, and I can see all of the apps that have access to my contacts. If I want to revoke access for any one of these, I just go over to the slider here and turn them off. And then that app will no longer have access to my contacts. Again, you're going to see I have all the different categories here. I can go to my calendars, and here are all the apps that have access to my calendar. I want to revoke that access. I go over to the right and I can revoke it. On the iPhone, it's pretty much the same thing as you can imagine. We basically just need to go to our Settings app, and then what we do is we go over to Privacy. Under Privacy, you're going to see all of the different apps again, or all the different categories again. I tap on Contacts. These are all the apps that have access to my contacts. I tap on the slider for any one of them to revoke that access. I go over to Camera. I can see all of the apps that have access to my camera. I go over to Photos, and I can see all of the apps that have access to my photos. And if I want to revoke access, I just tap on it, and from here I can revoke access. So that's how we can set which apps have access to our data on the Mac, iPad, and iPhone. Basically, all we have to do is just go over to our security and privacy settings. On the Mac, this is located in System Preferences. On the iPad and iPhone, this is located in the Settings app. What we need to do is go over to Privacy. When we're looking at our privacy settings, we can see all the different categories, such as contacts, calendars, reminders, photos, camera. Just tap on the category that you want to view, and then you're going to be able to see all of the different apps that have access to that data. From there, you can revoke access for any one of those apps. So that's how we can view which apps have access to our data on the Mac, iPad, and iPhone.